Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 40th episode of Cultist Simulator, playing the Bright Young Thing Legacy as David Ellison. So let's do a quick review of where we're at. We have an affliction. I'm doing sort of a last-ditch effort to go to the wood. It's going to take us 40 seconds to get past it. At that point, we won't have enough time to get the affliction taken care of. Now, it's an inconvenient time because I really do not want to be using funds to cure the affliction. We have 3 in 30 seconds. One of those is going to go to pay the rent. We are doing a painting for money. It's very likely we'll get by with that. But money's tight. Obviously, I would prefer to be using vitality to cure the affliction. We've just passed a season of ambitions, so we're taking care of one of my prisoners. The second one is held in reserve. At some point, I'm going to want to deal with Saliba or Rhaenyra to get a replacement as well, but we can hold off on that. And we're finishing an expedition. So the Nest of Lights. The tunnels beneath the cave are smooth with the Great Serpent's Passage and chokingly dark until we come with our lanterns. But the chamber where it nested is surprisingly bright. Luminescent fungi flood the place with Erstad's moonlight. Perhaps the candles drew it, not repelled it. And then we are also translating the In the Mountains is Upon the Plain, which is the first VAC text. We learned VAC at the Peacock Store the first trip we went. I need to sneeze. So we have a few loose ends to tie up. I definitely need to deal with money, and if we have to put things on hold, fair enough. We have plenty of resources that we can sell, but we'll see. I suspect we'll probably find some other ways of making cash. In the mountains is upon the plain. There may not be a path where none has passed. Nigella of Lagash describes secrets to be found in mountains. Nigella tells a number of lively stories about riddling ogres and wars between mountain tribes, but turns somber in the tale of the empty-handed hunter, a lover of the Grail who sought to match her appetites and join her as an hour, but in the end rent and devoured himself, giving his name to the mountains he had once roamed. Another mark, I have drunk the light of their mind. It thrills and fills me, and the marks brighten in me. We will spend the funds. We do have the staleness, but in this case I want to try and maximize the value that I get. A little cache of treasures culled over the years from the serpent's meals. It has nosed them into a glinting pile. So here we have the sky, the soul. That's in Aramaic, so we can translate that. We have an intensity of radiance, so that's going to turn into a fascination eventually. I can actually combine these using the study verb, but the question is it really worth it when I'm going to be, I want to be translating and reading these works. An account of Kanishk at the Spider's Door, so this is also in Aramaic, we will translate that. We've got the Ichor Vitreous, a pale and watchful fluid that can be gathered sometimes when the door in the eye is opened, so a very powerful lantern ingredient. Now, we have 2 funds right now. This would be quite a risk, if the painting doesn't actually turn out, this would be a danger. On the other hand, it's nice to have, a bit of a fire under you. There's a couple of things. Well, okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll use the percussive to search the city first. That happens to give me a chance to generate a vitality. I've also lost the opportunity to use study for health. That was a mistake on my part, but we'll manage. I mean, in the worst case scenario, we just pay cash. Competent work. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. All right, let's see what the well provides. A peculiar room that doesn't help me. So many things rise from the well in the wood. Last night it was a swarm with wormy roots. The trees clustered and whispered. Perhaps they were welcoming the influx. I found a sleeping soul ensnared in the roots, and I helped them struggle free. When they wake, they will recall my face, as I do theirs. Now, this doesn't really get me anything because we've already found all of our mentors and acquaintances. So in this case here, the real question is there a credible way that I'm going to wind up with a vitality? So in 48 seconds, I would finish the business with the hireling. But other than that, there really isn't. So in this case, I'm just going to pay for the medicine. The medicine is dark and bitter as tar. It would be easy to suspect I'm being poisoned. And this means that in all likelihood, I'm going to head to Oriflamme's to sell off some things. Right, my recent work has accrued modest fame. The paintings have reviewed well. So that's actually not too bad. That was 2 staleness that we earned. Sorry, we have 2 staleness now. But 4 funds is actually, that'll keep me going for a little bit. I may not need to dip into my reserves at Oriflamme's. I do, however, need to think about what I'm going to do with the work verb moving forward. So let's, first of all, reorganize everything. Doing a work wouldn't be a bad idea. So let's get our heart commission done. So we need a reason and a passion. So we've used up our passion. We can't actually work with the heart right now. But we can use 2 reason in the commission. It's very substantial. Actually, we can probably use the Forgotten Chronicle for that. This may be useful for a commission. I'm mildly tempted. I think we are going to pay for the hireling, and that's just because I can lock them in the cupboard. The mirror is repaired. It shines again as it did once before. Nagala claims that the Hours who sometimes manifest as birds, the laughing thrush, the ivory dove, the beach crow, and the witch and sister meet at a secret location on a mountaintop to exchange gossip unheard by their peers. Now and then a mortal overhears them. The mortal is always obliterated, and the meeting place is always changed. Oop, I missed something. I'm assuming that was an unresolved ambiguity? And it's said to be tested. Alright. Again, no point in working with the vitality, so at this point I think just more translations are in order. Yeah. On the matters and deeds of serpents. This is probably the prophecies of the Naga rendered into English and illustrated by William Midnight in Paris in the 1880s, but it shows a number of divergences from that text. It is certainly quite recent by the standards of VAC texts. Now, what do I want to do with the talk verb? Getting rid of the evidence is pretty important right now. 21 seconds, we will be able to betray and imprison the hireling, but maybe we don't need to do that right now. So, grabbing another prisoner has the potential of gaining funds. It takes about 2 minutes, though. We could... Well, what else could we do? Let's focus on acquisitions. A sufficiently persuasive disciple can probably lure a susceptible companion back to us. We'll have a chat with Madame Bichet about the commission, but we'll wait until later. Now, I do want to avoid... This is going to be a tough one, actually. It's all well and good for me to say we can use the fleeting reminiscence to get rid of the fascination, but I do want to... Oh, that's going to turn into fascination no matter what. Okay, so this one I definitely don't want to turn into fascination. So... I'm going to wait on the dream slot for a little bit. I finished the manuscript. Okay. really letting the playthrough run away with me right now, but we're not in a losing situation. The worst that happens is I'm net up 1 fascination, but still, it's something I'd prefer not to work with. And it turns out it was a foolish choice to grab the prisoner. What I should have done was destroy the evidence. But that's fine. We have a few ways of working through this. Now, I do have the work slot available. We are short on money still, but in this case, I am going to do one of the special paintings. So this one is for Forge, so we'll use the Lionsmith's name. Those who know will understand, as will the Suppression Bureau. Okay, it's probably too much to... It's too much to spend the money on another hireling at this point. If we find another source of money, fine. At the moment, I don't want to run this risk. So we use the Martensite paste, and we've translated the back text. The Serpent Folk, called the Great Hooded Princes, came to know the order called the House of Leith and warred across the miles with them. They made an alliance with the Mother of Ants, whose children they had been... I think what I may wind up doing... Actually, you know what? We are going to pay for the hireling. So I'm curious. Actually, we can save ourselves the trouble here. We'll clear out the fleeting reminiscence. That way we just need to worry about a dread or a... Yeah, actually, this is a fairly easy one for me to deal with. Season of Ambition's coming up, but we can sort that. My minion is returned, half-conscious, bleeding badly. It seems a rival suitor took exception to their efforts. Okay, so I have to first of all do things in a certain order. So first things first, we'll betray and imprison a follower. This one must serve another purpose. Into the cupboard they go. I don't have money right now, so we can't heal Saliba, but we can try and get some money. Ooh, that's really close. I think we just have to get hit with the damning evidence at this point. Not my favorite, but we'll work with it. Okay, so we've got a rousing air. Colonel and the Lionsmith. Since Issus they have striven so. I only need to do the winter painting now, but we may have to put that on hold because I need to find a source of funds. Okay, let's think about what I want to do with my talk verb. Yeah, so selling things at Oriflamme's is definitely a step I'm going to take. For talk, well, we'll betray and imprison a follower. Well, actually, in this case, we can turn in with Dr. Redeem. Supply their loyalty for now. We'll send the percussicant out again. Work verbs being left idle, so let's get the heart text taken care of. And Season of Ambition's coming up, so we're fine with the betrayals. We'll get a new commission from Madame Bichet. And then again, we'll betray the hulking fellow when we can. There we go. So we got something we can do with Enid. I think the time has come. We should probably just let the percussicant expire. There's not a lot that I need from the explore verb right now, and instead we can go to Oriflamme's to sell off a few things. So we'll start... Oops, I'm attending an auction. Okay, that's a waste of the verb. Would like a moth commission, and the text describes how the Great Hooded Princes escaped, or will escape, from the Fifth History where they had died or were doomed to die. They engaged in a secret conquest of the land of the Great River, called India in some histories, and have ensured that all other conquests of that land are false conquests. So this is a further improvement to our Nock lore. The formula of Ophidian. Serpents are the visitors which may not be denied. Study-wise, let's keep going with our... Okay, let's toss the follower into the cupboard. I'm just thinking that there may be something I can get done with the percussive. I need a few seconds, though. Oh, I'm not using my study. How the end will begin. Now, this is pretty easy for me in terms of getting... Oh, wow, we already had the dread. Never mind. It still makes sense to translate it, though. So we'll translate how the end will begin. A book of bleak prophecy. Okay. So lots of notoriety. It would be better if we could do paintings with this, but at least we've got a few... We've got some reserves. I am going to be a little cheesy here. I'm going to treat this like I was talking with it, but not really. The air is curdled now. I'm home again in this lump in flesh. Better, perhaps. Now, we don't need to worry about the Season of Visions anymore, so I think it makes sense for us to go to the Peacock Door. The Peacock Store. So there's the Wandering Mirror. The Peacock's door reflects the mirror I hold in my sleep, and the mirror reflects the Peacock's door. Already a sensuous shiver ripples its surface. It aches for fracture, and when it finds that satisfaction, I will enter. So yeah, this is me being a little cheesy with the percussive for a bit. I need to think... Okay, no, we can chat with Cat Caro. Invite them for a walk in strange streets. Cat lifts her teacup, drains it to the dregs, tilts the cup to study it critically. Why not, she says. Why not indeed? Okay, now we saw the jumble. This oddity is probably worth something, but it's hard to be sure. So we've got 49 seconds for the sale. And if this ever reaches trial, I will be in serious danger. Even if this hunter is disposed of, another may find their notes. So in this case, I either want to be making trips to the... Mansis to get protection, or I want to be prioritizing the the moth destructions. Okay. Stressful times, but we'll get it sorted. So normally what I do here is use the passion for a I would use the passion for a painting, but we need to, well, we don't have to, but it would make sense to get the percussive back, so we just need to throw a little knock in this. I could, if in theory, also get rid of any influences that I didn't want, but in this case, we don't have any, so. The percussive, merciless and merry, heart will bring it, edge will constrain it. We also get a little vitality out of that, which is nice. Alright, for whatever unlikely reason, my item has caught the fancy of the bidders. Now, that's good normally, but in this case, we are actually going to get sick as a result of the auction, which is fine because we're going to have enough money to deal with the sickness, but it is going to be another inconvenience we need to deal with. I have drunk the light of their mind. It thrills and fills me. The marks brighten in me. Prepare the text for study. So because we have a little bit of trouble coming ahead, let's just leave this aside. We will keep this in the library, but we're going to translate another work. 26 enticements, 7 torments. The painter Niels Friedrich Malsker notoriously attempted a series of paintings based on the torments. For the 5th torment, the demands of the painting had grown so dire that he died of blood loss. The diagrams in this text are thankfully less detailed. Study door, the work begins. I'll risk the War Museum again. Okay, Vagabond's map from the War Museum. The Peacock Door and Seal. The size of the mantis is negotiable, and so last night in the Worm Museum I saw one of the worms who took Vienna, a cage next to a worm taken from the soul of a child. In dreams they are more valuable than waking, smooth and dark as jewels. The walls bear stories of the First and Second Worm Wars. The third is too recent to have passed into the histories. And this is the first secret history of level 12. So, Vagabond's map. The Vagabond is the 1 hour who can never enter the Mansis, but she goes everywhere else, and if you believe her boasts, she's the only one who knows all the histories. Sometimes she lets someone record her travels. So I think in the case of Dream, we're just going to leave this open, because again, we are going to have sickness to deal with in a minute or two. And again, I'm not too worried about it. I think we're going to be able to get through the trouble. Ooh, okay. A liaison. The light is silver. The breeze is cool. The night silence invites words as dark velvet invites a finger's touch. Oh dear. Hopefully the season of ambitions goes by quickly. No! Oh dear. The auctioneer's gavel bangs. My item has sold. Okay, so we didn't... Oh, no, we did wind up with extra money. So we paid the rent. First the thump, the rattle and cry of the ceremonies it attends in the wood. Now here it is, shouldering its way through the world's skin like a clawed and ruthless uncle or a headless flapping bear. Okay, let's get the staleness dealt with, because this is becoming a pretty big liability. So we'll do a painting about trembling airs. There's still the percussicant. I'll paint them into our world, and perhaps they'll stay a little longer. I should be thinking about the explore verb, though. So in this case, let's go for the unresolved ambiguities. This is in the Rending Mountains. The Rending Mountains, it has been said, tear the flesh of history. It has generally only been said by people like Christopher Alopoli, but still, they're a good region to find the places that daylight history does not recognize. So it's going to be a little bit of a Hail Mary to see whether or not we can actually get rid of it. The evening is going in a direction I hadn't intended. Did I say the wrong thing? Or are we just hopelessly unsuited? So, I'm going to try again with Cat, but what we are going to do first is try and get rid of the evidence before the trial. Let's use that to deal with the damning evidence. This is 60 seconds before it goes away, so obviously we're hoping that they don't pick up damning evidence and start processing it on time. I've drunk the light of their mind. It thrills and fills me. Their marks brighten in me. Now, again, that's a pretty big assumption because we have far more notoriety than we have mystique, but we'll see how it turns out. I'm also hoping we see a little bit of cash from this painting. Oops. So we'll translate the Gospel of Zacchaeus. At the study door, the work begins. And again, we can go back to Oriflamme's to sell some things, but we have the funds that we need right now, so we'll see if we can make a bit more progress. Starvation. Without money, I'll soon starve. If an illness cannot consume health, it will kill you. I need rest and nourishment if I am to recover, but where my mouth waters, when my vision swims, I see the red cup, and now and then it will speak to me. This is an indication to pay attention to the Grail. Okay, so in the case, this is to avoid using supernatural means to, I suspect anyway, this is one way that you can avoid supernatural means of healing. Oh my goodness. I really need the money now. All that I am is here. Okay, so they did get oh no, it was Mystique that they got. Okay. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. We did get money. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Now, we still have the staleness, so we're not out of the woods yet, but we have a bit of a lease on life. So, let's go. Okay, so we dream with money. We work with commissions. This may be useful for a commission. So we'll use the restlessness in a painting, but that's for the future. This place merits further investigation. So I think we're still okay. I'm going to hold off on Oriflammes for a bit, just because it would be nice to try and get the expeditions out of the way. So we will continue with the unresolved ambiguities. And we do not have dread on the table right now, so we don't need to... if the restlessness decays, then that's a problem, but I await word. Now, obviously we're really hoping that this thing works out, because we do not have enough time to be able to recover from the loss. Excellent. Elizabeth has earned their keep. My minion has returned. The evidence has been destroyed. I am a little safer. So, we can afford to do a few more dastardly things. Actually, I can turn in the commission with Count Jannings, so I'm going to do that, and then we're going to try going out with Cat Caro again. I have what was requested. And we prepared Gospel of Zacchaeus for study. I should probably be reading some of these texts, but I want to try and get a little bit of a handle on what's going on the table right now. So in this case, it's translation time. So this is the sky, the soul, the grand labor of Cal, an ascetic poet writing at the court of the shadowless kings. My strength returns, the wheeling dark at the corners of my sight has gone. Or has gone, sorry. And a half-glimpse of wistfulness has touched me, so we'll turn the restlessness into money. I don't think there's anything I want to be doing with Dream right now. We might want, under other circumstances, we might have wanted an insurance policy against the Suppression Bureau, but right now that's not as important. Right, I've received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. Now, under normal circumstances, I would take, get commissions from the others, but we are losing the street strength by moonlight, so Cat lifts her teacup, drains it to the dregs, tilts the cup to study it critically. Why not, she says. Why not, indeed. So I'd always, I feel a little bad about this, what I'll say, just because it may be very obvious to the people watching this, but I also think that this is possibly like, I don't know if this is a detail that would be widely known among the people, and I can think of at least maybe one viewer who would appreciate knowing this. So I'll share it. For tea, there's the phrase reading the tea leaves, right? And actually, Orwell has a fun essay on the perfect cup of tea, and sort of talks about how a full account would in fact cover other uses for tea leaves, such as telling fortunes and such. And so it's not just that, you're sitting down. It's not just that you're sitting down for tea, right? Cat lifts her teacup, drains it to the dregs, tilts the cup to study it critically. Why not, she says. Why not, indeed. This is her actually taking sort of a fortune. This is a nice thing that I quite like about Cat Caro. In this case here, she is basically, I guess this would be analogous to, someone maybe, you ask someone out on a date, and then somebody, takes out tarot cards and lays it all out and says, yeah, let's go for it. So I like this line quite a bit, because obviously if you have read the descriptions of Cat Caro, you know that she is a fortune teller. This is very characteristic of her. And yet I feel that this line goes by casually enough. It's maybe not quite specific, and there's a lot of this in Cultist Simulator, so this is why I say I kind of feel bad about pointing this one out in particular, because the game is full of this stuff. But this is one in particular that I like because I think it's close enough. I think it's actually specifically because of the turn of phrase. Like, I don't know how often people will think of tea in the context of fortunes. Even though, you know, we do have a common turn of phrase that will communicate that. So it's because of our language, I think it's close enough to people's consciousness that they will realize it when it's pointed out, but it's subtle enough in the writing that there's actually a little bit more going on than you may appreciate at the moment. So again, cat lifts her teacup, drains it to the dregs, tilts the cup to study it critically. Why not, she says. Why not, indeed? So she has an expectation in terms of how this will turn out that you're not necessarily privy to. And again, does this work on its own? Yeah, like, you don't have to necessarily know exactly what Cat Caro is doing. And yet it's one of these things that when you take a moment to think about it, it's a little more rewarding. And like I said, it's what I tend to find is because there is just so much inside of Cultist Simulator, and I'm sure there are people who know everything, but probably not as many people, as think they do. It's one of these nice little reminders that the more you look and the more that you play, the more that you can potentially pick up. And it's not even necessarily that you sort of sit down and you say, okay, well, today I'm going to read on all of the different fortune-telling methods through history so I can see what's going on. Or I'm going to go to that Perseus site because it's got the companion to classical sites, and so now I can learn all about the Meruvai and the dry lake bed. That's probably not quite the right way to go about it. But, I mean, if that brings you joy, then, go with God. But I feel like that is maybe something that would be a little more of that feels kind of joyless in terms of how it would, how you'd approach that, right? Because it's just sort of like, it's kind of like if you're going to the library and you say, okay, I want to become a smart person, so I'm going to read smart person books. Well, like, what on earth is a smart person book? Like, hopefully you follow your interests, and over time you accumulate the qualities that you probably are associating with the people who are reader. I mean, generally I assume readers are intelligent. I'm the counterexample, I suppose, but yeah, so I mean, this is not, it's just one of these little ways where I feel like this is close enough to mind that I think people would be able to get it if they weren't aware of it. I suspect probably there are more people than, well, I don't know, actually. I should poll people and see how familiar the idea is. But it's a nice little one. There's just a few that I like thinking of. It could be, I guess it's a bit of a text equivalent to Adim not having the mortal point. It's sort of hiding in plain sight. But I think it's fair to say that there are people who can play the game a few times and not quite realize what's going on. And to be honest, I think this is the first time I've dated Cat Caro, so this is the first time I've does it count as dating? I've taken out Cat Caro, but it's the it seemed worthy of comment. Sorry if I wasted everyone's time there. It also occurred to me that we're actually at the end of the time. I've been so busy trying to survive. But we'll go a little bit longer just so I can get my paintings and such. Okay, I finished the manuscript. So eventually we'll be able to turn this in with Madame Bichet. We have a season of visions coming up, so we're free from the season of despair. We're free from the season of visions. We are going to get a painting. Oh, actually, we're not necessarily free from the season of visions because we may get hit by that when we do the painting. But it's still something we're going to do because that's going to give us money. You never know, this might be a living. So we will paint away the restlessness. And let's see how the... Oh, actually, we're looking for treasures. Never mind. We may have to resummon the percussigan, but that's not the worst thing that could happen to me. This place merits closer investigation. So we still have money, so we will use the unresolved ambiguity one more time. Now, if I try to get rid of Inspector Wakefield, I do want to be careful, because if Wakefield turns into a rival, we have some pretty good locations that they can plunder. But we'll work with what we've been given. Colors of the Night. I could spend money on better paints, or perhaps I could find more exotic pigments. And again, we're close. We've got one winter painting to do. I was also okay delaying the winter painting because it's going to result in something that gives me dread. So I sort of want to be prepared for that. And now we'll do the account of Kanishk at the Spider's Door. Loch Cowley, Kanishk's victim and lover, wrote this account, perhaps posthumously. The light is silver, the breeze is cool, the night's silence invites words as dark velvet invites a finger's touch. Shared light. Cat Caro listens as I speak. She links her arm through mine. This isn't what I dreamt would happen, she remarks. But I like it that way, she smirks. I dreamt I'd take you home. Perhaps instead you should take me home. All that I am is here. This is something exceptional. It may provoke a reaction. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. And another old and happy far-off things. The artist's reward. My recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. So we did get a little money. And I do mean a little. However, we don't have the staleness anymore, so we are free to pursue more painting. Fortunately, oh no, we do have the notoriety that we need. So I'm actually going to lock that in right now. This will also generate more notoriety for me. So I'll paint them into our world, and perhaps they'll stay a little longer. The Suppression Bureau will likely take an interest. So I am running the risk with the restlessness, but we may be able to do a passion painting in sort of as compensation, and lots more to happen in the future. But we will handle all of that in a later playthrough. This should be the Friday episode for this week. I believe this would also be the last episode of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Did I misplace my calendar? I think I did, but in any case, it is worth saying thank you very much for watching. It has been, God, it's been a while since I've started doing these episodes, but I will say the warm response that these episodes have been getting is definitely a reason for me to keep doing this. Clearly we're not at the end of this one, and I have no intention of ending it early, but people do tend to mark the occasion. And of course it is worth remembering that in 2023 the expectation is that we will be experiencing a new entry in the Secret Histories in the form of the Book of Hours. And I would be remiss not to mention that in 2023 it will be sort of the first, I guess, proper year of Tricuspid Limited. So for those of you unfamiliar with Tricuspid Limited, it's the company that runs the Locksmith's Dream. So this is separate from Weather Factory, and in fact I believe they're going to be operating under the 6th History license as well. However, of course, it is something that Alexis Kennedy did have some writing on, along with a couple of, there's at least one other person who worked as a consultant who's a bit of a name. But in any case, they will be coming back. I believe they are selling advance tickets for it. I think that helps them sort of figure out the booking. But it also seems to get you about £100 off one of the rooms. So I think they took that idea. There's another event, I think it's D&D in a Castle, that does something similar. So it seems like a decent way to help them manage inventories, I guess would be how it works. But in any case, to see that event sort of move out, as the AMA said, to sort of move out of its incubation stage to become sort of a standalone business now. I'm hoping more people get a chance to experience that, because it sounds like a lot of fun. But of course, I think a lot of people are also really looking forward to Book of Hours. So this will, of course, mean some decisions in terms of what I do on the, on the YouTube channel, because there are only so many hours, and I know some people are going to want to see Cultist Simulator, and some people are going to want to see Book of Hours. But we'll see what the future holds. In any case, I am going on at a great length. The main point of this was to say thank you very much for watching. I hope the new year finds you all well. I am looking forward to doing some more videos for you in the oncoming year. And we will be wrapping up the story of David Ellison, as well as adding further stories to the Secret Histories over the next 52 weeks. Until then, see ya.